All right, guys, how you doing? All right, welcome to this video. Now we're going to do a shot of the British starter deck. So in this video, we're going to look at how to improve the British starter deck and go through a bunch of games with it to get ourselves to progression level 7 with Britain. And by doing that, we will unlock the 7 free cards that we get for Britain and get a good little preload to our British collection. So let's just take a look at what we'll get. Actually, let's jump in there first. So if we go look at our progression for Britain, and take a look at what cards they're going to give us. So the Desert Rats, deal 1 damage to an enemy unit and pin it. Decent card, not super like love it or hate it kind of thing, but it's a decent card. It's in some of the meta decks and the control decks that are there to really be slowing you down. This one will get played a lot. But in general, the Desert Rats is not like a big common popular card that you'd be super excited to have. First Airborne. First Airborne is one of these cards, like, it's got smoke screen, so when you put it out there, it's going to have smoke screen, which means it can't be attacked. You'll need a removal order to get to be able to kill it. But at the same time, it has mobilize, so what that means is at the beginning of your turn, you're going to get a +1/+1 on its stats. So until it takes damage, or you attack with it, it will have its mobilize. So you can move it to the front line, for example, and it will still have mobilize. The mobilize will only get removed when you actually take damage or attack with it, okay? So keep that in mind about the mobilize. So this is a good 1-drop. You know, you get it out on turn 1, and basically you let it sit there on your support line, because the thing about this is you see the operation cost is it has a 4 operation cost, but the special about this card, this is not a mobilized specific thing, this is just special about this card, is that on every turn, the operation cost will reduce by 1. So if you put this on turn 1, on turn 2, it gets becomes a 2/2, and it'll cost 3 to do something with it. And then on turn 3, it'll become a 3/3 and cost 2 to do something with it. So you can use it as early as turn 3, and it would do 3 damage. And then on turn 4, it's down to a 1 cost. Common mistake with this card is people get a bit greedy trying to turn this into like a 10/10 or whatever. Realistically, if you can get this up doing 3/3 damage for a 2 operation cost, that's pretty good value. And it does have Fury, so it can attack twice in 1 turn, so you can keep that in mind as well. You can often trade off 2 for 1 on this guy if he stays alive. Defending against this kind of card, I mean, you just want to ping it with damage as early as possible. If you remember Japan having that 0, for example, the deployment effect on the 0 can kill this. If it's put out at that point in time. Obviously it's a 5-drop to get the plane out, and this is on turn 1 potentially, but that's the idea. You really need to get a ping on this thing to kill the mobilize at least as early as possible, or maybe using if you could use your US cards or German cards that could bounce a card back to a player's hand. If this gets sent to a player's hand, it resets back to the beginning, and they'd have to deploy it and start mobilizing all over again. So in general, this card, I think in the early ranks is actually not a bad card, but later on in the game, this card here is not very good. All right, the Swordfish. So Swordfish is a really good card for your Brit Air deck. It's really a staple to get going. Only having 1 of them isn't great, because that's all you're going to get out of this is 1 of them. But once you have all 3 of these and you can start to build that Brit Air deck, that's meta, you can start to build a pretty powerful British aggro deck using Brit Air. So Swordfish is a staple in that, and that's why they're giving you this card, because it's considered to be one of the cards that are played a lot, and that's because the Brit Air is so strong. Coldstream Guards, really good card, gives you a naval support on deployment. So this will add a naval support to your hand, and what naval support does is it makes a card's attack equal its defense. So if you combine this with other buffs that the British have, like Cups of Tea, for example, you can build up a pretty big unit and then naval support it and make its attack equal its defense. Naval support can also be used defensively. If a unit has its health beat down to say 1 or 2 health, but it still has a 6 attack, you can use naval support on that to reduce its attack down to match its defense. So you keep that in mind. It's one of those big brain plays, so to speak, where you could use your naval support on your enemy's units in order to reduce what the power is that they have. All right, next they're going to give you the unranked, once you reach progression level 5, the 9.2-inch coastal gun. Each time this coastal gun attacks, your HQ gets +3 defense. It's a 7-cost 4/4 artillery, super expensive. If it could get, it's a removal magnet. You're definitely going to want to kill this right away when you see a 4/4 artillery, obviously. especially with a passive of healing your HQ. But this card is never played. I mean, it really isn't. I don't know why it's in here, but I guess maybe in the earlier ranks, maybe it does have some strength to it, but it's really expensive. So I know we go against it a few times in these games, building up these starter decks in the demo games, and I don't think it ever really gives us a problem in any of these games that we've seen it. But I guess if it gets off there behind a guard and the opponent can't get at it, probably can do a lot of damage. All right, Carpet Bombing, Area of Effect card, absolute meta staple card. You want to get these guys as quick as possible. This is your special. Getting this for free is amazing. We used to never get this card for free, and you'd be grinding it out to try to find a Carpet Bombing. And the fact that you're getting one for free right now on rank 6 in your progression is amazing. That's a really amazing gift from 1939 Games. So this card here is going to find its way into your British decks. Absolutely an amazing card with dealing 3 damage to all enemy units. It's a staple. It's a hands down meta staple card. You'll see it in Officer Club Championship tournaments and everything. Same with P40 Kitty Hawk. I mean, this is just a really strong elite. 3-cost fighter, 2/3 fighter, and on deployment, deal 2 damage to an enemy ground target. That includes HQ, so you can definitely use this as a little bit of a finisher to help edge down your opponent on that last 2 health if you need to. But it is only ground units, so this does not do anything against an air unit, but it has to be a ground unit. Solid card in most British decks, regardless of the archetype. Definitely a staple to Brit Air, but also played in a lot of other British control decks. So there you have it. Those are the cards that we're going to unlock that you're going to get for free in your first 7 games as a free-to-play player. If you look at the British starter deck that comes with the game, once you do the tutorials and unlock it, they like to pair it with Soviet. I personally didn't like this combination. Basically, the way that this one plays out is it doesn't have the strongest cards that you could actually use for an ally. Soviet is one of the harder nations, in my opinion, in the beginning, because they're missing a lot of the specials and elites that make the Soviets pop. So I find Soviet is not actually the best ally in here. We got the 2 Bloody Sickles in here, which is good. But I think that there's other ally options that we can use. And that's where I went with the British USA combo. And I think one of the things that really makes a USA a great ally in this case is really looking at the cards that we unlocked as part of doing USA. So in this case, if you're doing this mission in order, like I am here, we started with Japan, then we did USA, now we're doing Britain, you've unlocked some cards from the USA progression, and those cards, now we can include those cards into our British deck. So we have the B-25 Missile, the B-17 Flying Fortress, and of course the P-51 Mustang. These cards are just so powerful. These are just great cards to have in here for the late game, mid to late game. And the reality is with Britain, you don't have an aggro style of game. You're really looking for the mid-range game, so you're going to need those types of cards to play out the mid-range. And I don't think the Soviet deck that they have, or the Soviet cards in that starter deck, really give you the tools you need to be able to do that. So let's just take a quick look through the cards that we're going to use from Britain. So from USA, we're using the USACs again because, I mean, giving that extra +1/+1 I think is useful. And when looking at all the different ally cards that are available, I liked the idea of using that one. AA Barrage, target air unit must retreat and give your HQ +2 defense. So this is what Britain has for bounce. This is super effective in early ranks where we're playing. Guys will be playing down their planes, and this just lets you retreat it. But you could also combo that with the B-17 or the Mitchell or the Mustang. You can bounce your own plane back into your hand or your own hand so that you get the deployment effect again. So these 3 planes deployment effect really pair up really nice with the AA Barrage when you do it against yourself. So we're going to use the HUMBER Mk II as a tank. It's a 1/3 tank with Fury. If you remember, like with USA, the Greyhound, and with Germany, which we haven't done yet, the German tank 1/3 as well is a good staple. These stats are pretty good for a 1-drop, and it has Fury, so if you do get that up in the front, having the 2 attacks available is super good. You combine that with something like USACs, you can get this guy to do 4 damage in 1 turn because he can attack twice. So that's a good one to stack up. We're using the Desert Rats in here. We get one of them, and you'll unlock another one from the... Yeah, we're using the desert rats in here. So as you unlock it, you throw in the desert rats just to get that extra bit of pitting effect going. It's not a bad order to have in the deck. Keep calm and carry on. Cups of tea. Give your British units +2 defense. We got the Greyhound in here with the staple USA card. Take the front line with that 1/3 and buff your support line. Goes nice with the T19 HOWITZER, as we said in the other videos. We're going to take for the king with us in this one. Deal 5 damage to an enemy tank. That's going to be useful just to kill tanks. It's a 2-cost removal order, so that'll help us deal with any of those earlier on tanks, and even dealing with the later tanks. A lot of tanks have heavy armor in the earlier games, lower levels, so that's going to be super useful. 2-pounder is a solid artillery. You get one of them. It has a 0 operation cost, which makes it really nice, and a +1 against tanks. So basically a 2-cost with 0 op for 1/2 stats and a +1 on tanks. So that's a good artillery to have in the deck. We pull in the 6-pounder to have more artillery. Really looking for this British style deck to really be able to get artillery down that could control the enemy as they're playing out units and hopefully kill off their units without taking damage back and get good value out of these artillery. Deals double damage against tanks again, so this will do 4 against tanks, so that'll be a nice buff when we need it. And the only problem with this guy is the 1 health. So he's kind of an expensive artillery. It's not a very good artillery as far as this game goes, but for the starting decks, this artillery can play pretty good. The Hurricane is a nice little plane, the MK1. It's a 3/2 body with Blitz, so we got 3 of those in there. And as always, we need to have a draw engine, so we got the convoys in there for draw. And we got the 11th Infantry to be able to do some healing. We've got the 22nd Guards Brigade that gives adjacent units that are tanks or infantry a +1/+1, so it's going to give our guys a buff. That pairs really nice with guys like Lancashire or Churchill to give them a little more meat. So as you can see, we're not going with a lot of guards here. We're using Churchill and we're using 22nd Guards. I don't really like the 5th Brigade, and if you saw the other games, the last round where we were using USA, we went against a lot of Britain that was using the 5th Brigade, and it's just a really weak guard. It doesn't give you much value at all. It's pretty easy to rip through, unless you get something like that naval operation, like I said there, that could actually, or naval support, whichever one it was called, that could actually make the attack equal, then that could be good value. But otherwise, we're not going to have that card, so we're not going to use it. And then we got the Spitfires, are just amazing British Air Force, right? We want to get our Air Force going in here, so we're going to throw down a couple of Spitfires, and then we lead into the big USA Air Force that we just talked about at the beginning. So this, to me, is a much better starter deck than what comes with the game, and I think you'll have a lot more fun with it and a lot more success. Keeping in mind that the order matters when you're a new player, in the sense of which nations or how you play them when you're ranking up, right? So we started off with Japan at rank 25, and it was quite easy. And then USA was still pretty easy. Britain, I expect, is going to be still kind of easy because we're still sub-rank 20. And then as we move up, though, into Germany and then Soviet, we're going to see that it's going to get harder because we're ranking up the ladder, right? And so our opponents are going to start to have stronger cards, and that's going to make our games harder because we're using just the starter deck and not buying packs and doing all those other things as we go along. So this is just straight up how to improve the starter decks out of day one. If you take any one of these starter decks from the 5 videos that I'm posting, the other 2 will be coming shortly, and played it from the beginning, it'd be super, super easy, and you'd pretty much cut through everybody if you knew how to, if you play them properly and understand the concept of the game to get the most value out of it. So with all that said, enough talking. Let's jump into the games and see how it plays. All right, we're jumping right in there. Senior Osito enlisted, rank 24, and we're already ranked 21 after just getting through 2 starter decks. So we're moving up the ranks really fast. Remember, if you have a winning streak, you jump 2 stars instead of 1. So we're mulliganing everything there because we don't have a good starting card. We're looking for the 1-drops like this. This Hummer is a great start card. That's what we want to start with this deck. If we can get a little bit of early damage in, early aggro, that'll be super useful. The rest of our hand is kind of crappy right now. Having all 3 drops and no 2s. Really not going on a curve here. So that kind of crappy, but let's just see how this plays out. Hey, opponent doesn't have a card. That's good. All right, we're still a little bit hurting for early game here, but we move up and hit once with the Hummer. Start pinging, tapping away at the opponent. So the 22nd Guard Brigade does not buff artillery, and it's only going to buff tanks and infantry. All right, so he's got his 0-cost Soviet tank there. That's frustrating. We're just going to go ahead and put down the artillery so that we could start to mow him down. Hopefully he doesn't have removal. Versus Soviet, you know, they're going to have bloody sickles, and that's going to take care of the artillery pretty easily is what I anticipate. But here's hoping that it survives a turn or two. And if it doesn't, we'll put down the next one. He's got to hit that Hummer twice if he wants to kill it. We got the bloody sickle, and he bloody sickles, and huge misplay. Guys, you got to kill artillery. You have to kill the artillery. You can't leave artillery floating like that. He should have left the Hummer there and killed the artillery. Now we got 2 artillery down. Unless he has something else and he's actually planning out his turns. But on the face value right there, I call that a misplay. Bloody sickle, the artillery. Take it out. Does so much damage. And now if he doesn't have a way to deal with these, we're going to put our guard, I think, right down in the middle of these 2 artillery. We also got the option for card draw. All depends what our opponent does. And they're looking through all their cards right now to try to figure out what to do. It's really hard to play when you know that no matter what you put down, it's probably going to die because these artillery do double or +2 damage, right, to tanks. So Soviet is a lot of heavy tanks. So odds are that regardless of whatever he puts down, we're going to be able to just mow it down with artillery and hopefully still have enough credits left to build out our board a little more. All right, he's using up the clock quite a bit. We'll see what's going to go on here. Hopefully he's just considering options and not roping. Not going to be pessimistic like that. I'm sure he's not roping. It must be, it is challenging when you're up against artillery. You got to kill them. It's a golden rule. Artillery must die and bombers must die. All right, so we're going to draw cards. Good time to draw because he didn't play anything. So we get 2 more cards in our hand, and then we could just smack him in the face for 4 damage. So we didn't lose any tempo because we didn't have any other units to deal with. He didn't play anything. Now wait and see what he's going to do next. We got a couple of guards in our hand, which is key. I mean, the risk is that he could blitz up right now. Like Soviet does have a couple of blitz tanks, but they're more expensive. He may not be able to afford them. And I have no idea who his ally is yet because he hasn't played any other cards. All right, so this guy either disconnected or he's roping. So this is probably game over. I think they just gave up. So we'll just put down the Thigh Boys as they're nicknamed. Lancashire guys there. They're super, super strong infantry with a 5.6 body. So Mr. Senior Osito is roping us and not playing the game and just making us sit here and watch him run down the clock. Gotta love that. But I'm still going to just let this play out to talk through what cards I have and the decisions that I would make anyways. I mean, not the best value out of it, I guess, but let's try to end this as fast as we can. We'll push up those guys. Put down a plane. Hit for... Yeah, hit with the plane so we get the extra 1. All right, 1 more turn to go. Now, if he does wind the clock down all the way, I think the game will just shut him down and kill him, self-destruct him because of too many turns of no activity. If you go 3 turns without doing anything, it will just self-destruct you. I just saw his cards move, so he's there. Yeah, so this guy's just being a dumb. I mean, unless he really had nothing. No, because there, he had that in his hand. So he just didn't play anything because we had the artillery. So he just roped us. All right, Senor Osito. And then he surrenders. Well, I hope you're watching the videos, bud, and you hope you get better at the game. You needed to kill that artillery at the beginning. That was your only mistake. All right, so there we go. We unlock the swordfish. We get level 3. All right, on to game number 2. Against Private First Class somebody. And again, with our opening hand is not good. We're against Britain. So I think we just mulligan everything because Britain doesn't have early game tanks really, except for the Hummer, I guess, if we wanted to worry about that. But realistically, we need to try to find our own, and we don't find it. So we're on turn 2 with the 2-pounder, and if we are behind on curve, at least the 2-pounder has a 0 operation cost. So on turn 3, we could use the 2-pounder for an attack and still draw cards with our convoy. So it's kind of what's really nice about 0 operation cost. All right, so we didn't get anything, so go ahead, drop the 2-pounder, puts an artillery down. You know, if he puts down any units, at least we got that to help out. And I played these games like over a week ago, so I don't even remember the outcome. I know I don't win 100% of the games, and I'm going to show you guys the losses just like and the wins all the same, because you can learn from both situations. Okay, so we get the Hummer this time. So I think we'll put down the Hummer. Let's buff our guys and buff our defense, and just to get a little more staying power. We don't have any naval support, so we don't have the ability to increase our attack to match the defense, unfortunately. It's a really nice combo with that artillery. It'd be quite nice to have that, actually. But we do have USACs that we could drop on the Hummer, so we can do some damage here. Let's go ahead and hit face for 4, 5. And the reason I go all face is because he's playing slow, and that's just Britain. That's the way it is. And that's kind of why I got the cards that I have, because I do want to try to play a little bit faster in the beginning of the game and get some early damage in, because later on when you're fighting for every inch of the board, you know, that extra damage you get in the beginning can be really helpful. And he can't deal directly with that Hummer. You know, he could have his own orders, so he's playing the Soviet ally. So I don't know if he's playing the actual out-of-the-box starter deck or not. It could be. Who knows? Alright, so we go ahead and drop our Lancashire Guards and go ahead and hit the infantry unit. And because he cleared our board, now we got to focus on also clearing his board. Alright, so we know the rules. We got to kill that artillery. And now he buffed the artillery, so it's going to be a little harder to deal with. And the bombers, he got the swordfish down. So this is not the pure starter deck. He's got the cards that he unlocked as part of the first 7 in here, because you don't get swordfish for free out of the box. Alright, so bombers and artillery. It's a bit of a pain. Draw some cards and hope we can find some answers. We got another artillery. Definitely going to put that down just to have some more board presence. I mean, he can't kill. The only unit on board that he could kill right now is if he put everything into the Lancashire Guards or the artillery and bomber onto our T19. Plus whatever he has in his hand, obviously. But just looking at the board, right? We have a good spot here, I think, that we should be able to deal with. Hopefully to be able to deal with some of his units. Okay, that's good. I was glad that he did that, because he could have killed the big body in the front, which he probably should have done, because now we're going to be able to do some damage. So we get our 26 engineers. And so we put that down, and we want to get the most value we can out of it. So we put the artillery down first, and then the engineers gives us a +2 defense for all our units. And then we kill the artillery because the artillery gives us a 2 damage instead of just 1 like the bomber. And we just ping the bomber, because if he does have a way to deal with our artillery, for example, or something, our other artillery, the 2-3, the 6-pounder could kill the plane. And we don't have to worry about using our 5-6 to kill the 1-2 bomber. We can get better value out of that 5-6. It's all about value. You got to calculate the value to get the most out of every card. It's really a math formula. It's a math game, adding up the defense stats against your attack stats and making sure you get the most out of it. So here we got our we've got for the king to take care of that Matilda. So that's just beautiful. That's a beautiful value. But we also have. Why did I attack the tank? I didn't need to attack the tank. I had enough damage from the king. I don't know why I did that. Or for the king. So I don't know. That was a misplay, I guess. Alright, so probably not a material misplay to the outcome of this game. It's looking like we're in good control, but he does have a full hand of cards. But that was just a weird play there. Alright, pins down Lancashire. He's got the blitz. And that's good. He'll get good value out of that potentially, because he can kill our 5-5 with that. We can kill the tank though with all of our artillery if we wanted to. We just go ahead and pin it down. Again, not sure why I'm doing things in this order. I must just be playing really fast. Pretty sure I could have just taken care of that tank with the artillery instead of using that order that really didn't do anything. I'd have a different plan in my head, and then when I did it, I did something different. So he's drawing cards with a full hand of cards and not playing much. So I don't know what he has in his hand with Soviet. Right, from the people, kills one artillery. No problem. We still got good tempo on board. Another from the people. The other artillery's dead. I think we just keep pushing up here. We don't really need to play the B-17 just yet. I'm not sure how he's going to be able to deal with those two units. And the surrender comes in, and that's a done deal. So with misplays and all, we pull off the W and get the level 4 done, and we unlock the Coldstream. Again, if you're doing this, feel free to put the Coldstream in right away and get that naval operation card into your hand so that you buff some of your units. It's pretty useful. All right, so we're going against Soviet. So you may argue that keeping it for the king here might be worthwhile. All right, so we got a pretty wide variety of cost in our hand. At least we got the Greyhound to start. We get to play second. And so hopefully our opponent has a slow start. So obviously we drop the Greyhound, and then if we don't get any other 2 drops or anything, or any other 1 drops like find our Hummers or anything, we'll just push the Greyhound up if we can get frontline control. All right, so he doesn't play anything, so that's good. So we drop the Greyhound. Oh, we get a sorry. So he's either Canadian, or he just realized he took too long for no reason, or something else is going on. I don't know. Let's see what he's saying sorry for. I don't think he's Canadian, unless that name doesn't mean anything. Doesn't necessarily mean anything. All right, we're going to kill... We don't want to sacrifice our Greyhound into it. We could buff the Greyhound with the USACs and kill it, and we survive. Gives us a 2-for-1 on our Greyhound. Potentially a 2-for-1, that is. Or we just kill it for the king. Doesn't really matter. You can go either way there. Soviet does have bigger tanks later on, so you could probably argue that saving for the king for a 5-5 tank later might be better value than that one. And alright, so now he's playing more guards. Maybe this is why he's saying sorry. Is he playing all guards or what? Alright, so we're just going to go wide here and not worry about attacking that guard for now. I mean, he could end up pushing the guards up and then it gets a little more tricky, but I mean... Ooh, he's got his Burning Sky and a Katyusha. Puts the Katyusha behind the guard. Alright, we got 2 USACs in our hand now. I'm going to pin the Katyusha down, I guess. We had a really awkward hand. Kind of thinking about whether or not, you know, you could save things for later, right? Like, what value are we going to get out of these things right now? I could have done double USACs onto the Greyhound and went up and hit the guard. But I kind of want to see what he's going to do next. So he's going with research. So this guy has, he has breakthrough cards. So he's done some packs and unlocked some spy rings so that he can do research. Alright, so we have 5 credits now. We'll throw down the Spitfire. So if he has another Burning Sky combined with Katyusha, he kills our Spitfire. But next turn we have the Mitchell. Alright, so there goes the Greyhound. And he gets the proc on the Katyusha, so he gets the extra damage. So we can attack. So we're gonna roll the dice maybe, on the Mitchell. If the Mitchell hits the Katyusha, that's sweet. If it hits the guard, it's not the end of the world. But it's a 50-50 gamble. Say, oh, what the hell, let's do it. And we get the lucky roll here and we kill the Katyusha. That's very nice. We could have gone Lancashire and attacked with the Spitfire against the guard. Alright, so now he's at advanced research. So the next step of the research for him would be to get all the urine project, I think it is called. That would give him the discard function. Alright, oh, so Greyhound is nice. So we pop that into the front. It will buff the attack of our units. I'm going to hit face. and buff up that Greyhound. Now we're in a good spot to go ahead and use all that up, and we got a good board right now. So, because the issue now is basically he's going to end up, if he gets to turn 9 with the research, then he will be able to discard a lot of our cards. So he's not doing any more research right now, so that's good for us. Here we go. What's next? So we get the AA Barrage, and like I said in the deck guide, right, you can use that on your own planes to get another deployment value out of them. We're not going to right now. Because the bomber can hit past the guards, I think like it's what we got to do here, just face race. Sometimes when the pressure's on the board, we just got to face race, especially since he's doing research. Research could be crippling. So the U-boat it's called. Sorry, Urine Project's the last stage. U-boat is the nasty one. So destroys something that costs 8 and discards cards out of our hand. So he kills the bomber. We lose our B-17. And now we got to deal with this board. Not bad, not bad. We just hit face. Alright. So we don't play the Hurricane. The Hurricane has Blitz, and we don't want to risk that he could kill everything. So keeping it in our hand is a bit of a safety. Alright, we got to figure out a way to get 5 more damage on this guy. So we can clear the front line, and he's got all infantry, so he's not moving very fast. So the nice thing is that with all the infantry, he can't attack us with any of it. He can move up, but that's about it. So we could go wide on the board and just wait. Now, hopefully he doesn't get smokescreen, and he got Royal Research, so he's going to heal 4 and draw a card. There, oh, he goes Advanced Royal Research. So I don't know why. I thought he would have went with the healing. Pretty sure he could have went with healing on that one. We're definitely going to kill him now because we got that, and we get lethal with our Hurricane and our artillery. He could have healed 4, and we give him a sorry back. Good Canadian sorry. There we go. All right, so that's level 5 with Britain. That was a weird game at the end there. I don't quite get what he was doing, but it worked out good for us. All right, now we got Cadet Buddy. Here we go, Cadet Buddy. Rank 20 versus rank 20. And we got a crappy hand to start, so we're hoping to mulligan into something good. Germany has lots of tanks, so keeping for the king is a good card to keep. All right, jumping into our Greyhound for the starting card again. That's fantastic. Getting lucky with the 1-drops to start off with for the most part. To say Germany's a weird deck to play against when you're in these early stages. There's a lot of different types of archetype and threats with Germany that just aren't available yet. So it's kind of random. Depends what the opponent has. We got a really bad hand here. So if he comes out hot and fast, it's going to be rough for us. Cup of tea only works on British units. So we go ahead and hit face. Don't know what else we can do. He can trade on us. We definitely had to move up because he could move and attack. That's an infantry by the symbol on the card, but it's one that can move and attack on the same turn. So that stopped him from hitting us for 3, at least for now. We haven't killed it yet, so we're still in a tough spot here. We're probably going to take some damage early and hopefully be able to turn this game around if we can get a good draw. There comes the German tanks. Lots of blitz, lots of speed in the cheap German tanks in the early game. So we're not going to be able to use the 11th for healing. We just got to get a unit on the board, and we'll buff that up to a 4/4 with the USAC so that it could cover the attack of the Panzergrenadier in the front line. So he would have to trade both units in it to kill it. So he'll probably just go face. It's pretty common to not want to trade when you're Germany because it's very aggro oriented, where you're more focused on killing the HQ as fast as possible than you are with trading units. Puts down another tank all the way up. So that's interesting. This makes me think that maybe he has Blitzkrieg in his hand. Because why would you not attack? Like maybe he's setting up a huge Blitzkrieg? I don't know. That was very weird. He didn't do any attacking. He just set up the board. I feel like you got to do something. You got to kill units, and but I mean, he did have 4 or 5 units on the board there, so I guess that's not horrible. So we'll see if he trades off with our infantry. If not, we have another 11th infantry in our hand to heal it. So if we get to heal it, that's great. But even if we don't, it's still a 2-for-1. Oh, he's got to draw a card. That's good. That's 4 credits or 3 credits gone to do that card draw. Taking more front line now. He's hitting face and attacking. Alright, so now we can heal our infantry. Kill the 1-4. And we'll pin down the tank so because it's got 2 damage. And that's it. It's a good turn. So we sort of slowed him down and sort of flipped the tempo around based on this current picture. We'll see what he plays next. We have the Churchill there, which is not a really good card. I mean, it only has a 2 attack, but it is a guard, so it protects the HQ and it has heavy armor. But with only having 2 attack, it's not super strong. Cadet Buddy is considering their options with 5 cards in hand. Puts down the BF, the ME BF 104, I believe it is. So he gets a fighter down. So that's a good motivation to put our guard down so that the fighter can't hit face. And he's just going to go and attack us in the HQ. So we're going to protect our HQ and trade off one of these. Just reading the cards to see if any one of them has any sort of special effect that we want to kill more priority over the other one. It's good to do that. Just check and see. There are some units that do extra damage to other units in the front line or on the same line that they attack and stuff. So you'd want to kill those first, not let them get any passive benefits. Always is the case with British is that the games are slower. They take longer because the British archetype is just one of more slowness and control. Even though I'm trying to put a bit of an aggro spin on it in the beginning, it's still going to end up playing out a little bit slower. I mean, we're only on turn 6 here, but we have the AA barrage in our hand. We could have sent that plane back, but I definitely don't like to do that now because I don't want it to get healed. Even though it would be a tempo swing in a way, like it would cost to redeploy it. But if we can just deal with it. Alright, we need to deal with that artillery now. Shouldn't be a problem, I guess. That gives us extra defense and allows our Greyhound to survive. So now... So you can notice the order of operations there, right? Counting out your credits and looking at your cards. Playing it in that order allowed us to save our Greyhound to get another trade off of it. So getting better value out of it. So now we just got to take care of that fighter. And we're getting pretty close to being able to start putting the pressure on HQ. Alright, so he's considering his options with his last 3 cards in his hand. Okay, that's a good play. He's got the Panzer down, and it has Blitz. So there you go. He takes light work of the Greyhound with the big tank. And this is why, you know, for the King is useful against Germany, because it could just make light work of those tanks. Alright, so we get that guard. That's good. That's good. We're going to smack that in the middle down there and get the buff +1/+1 on the 2 adjacent units. That's really nice to help with the Churchill because the Churchill's kind of a softy with only 2 attack. Like I said, now he has 3 attack. Alright, so now we can push up with the... Like, we can't get at that plane yet, so we push up with the Churchill. We have another guard there, and we can play the cup of tea to buff all of our British units. There we go. British units are buffed. Lots of health. It's going to be really hard for him to deal with all of our board now. We have a lot of lot of health stats. All right. So we're going to be able to start pushing to attack his HQ very soon. Like I said, you got to be a little bit patient because you want to make sure that you're not going to sacrifice overall tempo of the board by hitting HQ. You know, make sure you're killing units when you need to. Okay, so another big tank down. And see, he's so soft. Like only 3, can't trade very well, right? Like it's forcing him to put a lot of hits into it to be able to get past it. But at the same time, it's not a very strong attack off of that Churchill. Only doing 3 right now. Normally only doing 2. He trades the plane off, which is great. Now we can push up our other guard because we don't have to worry about the plane if we want to do that. And we got the 2 T19s, which are useful. So we put our infantry on both sides of the Churchill to protect them. We leave the guard on the back line to guard the artillery because he could come out with another plane or something. That's just good to protect the artillery. And our infantry is protected now, so we can attack HQ. He's got to get through the Churchill still. All right, so he's going to be able to do good damage there. He's left with the 1 tank. 6 credits left. What's he got in his hand? All right, that's a strong infantry. It's a good body, but it's an infantry, so it's a bit slow. All right, we got the Lancashire. So we're not out of the woods here. A lot of top decks available to Germany to be able to deal with what we have on the board here. And push up our other guard is a good idea now, I think. So now we ping that tank down to a 5-2 so that it would trade with the Churchill. With the 2 attack would then kill it. That's why we hit that. And the infantry has a 4-5. I mean, we can't do much about that. He's gonna trade into our not the Churchill, rather the other 2-5 infantry. The Churchill's already gone, but you know what I mean. The 2-5 there. But now he's got to get through the 2-7 guard, the 22nd Guards Regiment. So here we go. What's he gonna do? And he's just got to basically try to kill as much of our units as possible. And we're kind of losing on card advantage here. I mean, what can he do there? So he can do that. Trades off his tank. So he can kill with the infantry. And the infantry survives. Yeah, he gets the Volksgrenadier down, 3-6. Those are a pain in the butt to deal with. Alright, so we got another 22nd guard. So we can buff our Lancashires before we push them up, which will be super useful. Make it a 6-7 up into the front line. Beauty. Push that up. We're going to kill the tank to take away some of his trading options there. And then hit face again. So now he's got 7 damage he can do. So he can kill Lancashire, but it kills both his units. So we get a 2-for-1 off that. Super, super good. But it's a slow burn. Man, we're having trouble dealing a lot of damage. All of these units have such low attack stats. Yep, and you combine that with long turns in between, a lot of thinking going on, and the fact that Britain is slow to begin with, it makes for some long games. All right. What are you going to do, buddy? Literally, buddy. Your name's Buddy. What are you going to do? All right. So, as expected, he trades off the 2 units because I guess he had nothing else in his hand to deal with it. Gets a Panzer IV down, it's a 5-6 body, another 4-5 infantry. And he's got a lot of muscle on the board. Okay, getting a Spitfire is huge because being able to put that speed into our attack to hit from the back line is going to be really nice. So I think we just go all face here. No, we don't. We go and chop the tank down to a 4 for some reason. I'm not sure mathematically why. He's got a lot of health there. That would have brought the HQ down to a 7. I think if I would have just went HQ there, I probably would have had lethal next turn. I guess I still will if he doesn't. Oh, he's got the, so he gets the blitz to kill that. Yeah, so we would have had him down to 7 right now. We would have had lethal. If I would have just hit face, I would have had lethal. I don't know why I attacked the tank. Misplay. So now I have no choice but to deal with these tanks. We get card draw, so we're going to draw since we don't have lethal. We get another Spitfire, that's nice. We kill off the 5-2, hit face, put down the last Spitty. Alright, so now we kind of locked in the game here. But we did give him an opportunity. In later games, like, you got to watch it, because if he top decks like a Leopold or something like that, send our whole board back into our hand. Very risky. And missing lethal there is a pretty, could be a costly mistake. Works out for us okay in this case. All right. Panzer 35 up to the front. Nothing you can do with that. I mean, you can kill one artillery, I guess. I mean, he already knows. If you can't kill the Spitfires, you're dead, right? You got to kill everything. The Sherman, no jaw there, and dead. Good gun, good game, buddy. Sorry, good game. Just get the kill, and let's move on to the next game. Where we rank 7 now. Rank 5 to 6. All right, one more game with Britain. There's our carpet bombing. Such a sweet card. Great to unlock that. All right, let's go. One more game. One more game if we win. If we lose, then probably 2 more games. You do get XP for losing towards your progression. You still get XP, but you get more if you win. So, again, we got a Greyhound, which is nice. It's kind of... Keep the artillery, I guess. I mean, it's tough because against Japan, it could be a very aggressive deck. He's ranked 19, so he's going to have a few extra cards that are not part of starter decks. And he gets the Jagro start there with the 2-1 infantry to the front. So he's going to get 2 face damage right away. Watch to see if he drops a Type 93 next and gets the buff on the attack. It's the textbook Jagro. Let's see what happens here. Ooh, he puts down the Type 88 anti-aircraft gun. So that will pin our airplanes when it attacks our airplanes, or our planes attack that artillery. They get pinned. So... we will move up the Greyhound maybe. Alright, let's see what we're going to do here, I guess. We passed it over. We saved the credit. He's going to kill the Greyhound anyway, whether we move it up or not, so it doesn't really matter. The Greyhound is dead. Here we go. Alright, so that tank 3-3 tank is a big body, but we have for the king in our hand. Don't know if I like that play. I think we got to kill the tank. I think for the king is the play here. Do I not see for the king in my hand maybe? Yeah, there we go. Kill the tank. I think that would have been a snap pick there. But good to think your turn through and look at all your different options and rule out things. Helps prevent mistakes. So we still got to deal with the artillery. So let's just see what he does. He gets the Hayabusa down. So that's a 3-3 fighter with destruction to do 2 damage. Down the guard, and that just protects our HQ at least. And that gives our Greyhound a little buff, so now the artillery doesn't kill our Greyhound. Alright, so he pings the guard. Air superiority does the other 3. So 1 left. So he's planning to finish off the guard with the artillery next turn. And we now have the ability to kill that artillery. So we do that. So that's great. And so you can see now the Hurricane's pinned. That's the effect that artillery has. When it attacks a plane or the plane attacks it, they get pinned. And that works against planes that have armor as well. You don't actually have to do damage. You just have to attack it. So it's something to keep in mind. So he takes out a guard with a 0. So this guy's got a tough deck. I mean, we're definitely going to have to think our way through here. We do have the A barrage, so we can get rid of the 0 and send it back to his hand maybe. And then he just gets to deploy it and kill a Hurricane, I guess, if we do that. We don't have any guards. I think we have no choice but to bounce the 0. It just does too much damage. We get the so we get the Lancashire boys down, thigh boys. So it's a nice big body. They're just slow, right? We need time to get them up to the front. We have 25th Engineer in our hand, which is nice. So he's going to deploy that out and kill the Hurricane. That was a given. We knew that was going to happen. And he kills the Greyhound. So now we have a rough hand here. At least if he wants to kill the Lancashires, he needs to put 2 units into it. And now with our buff, we put it out of range of those 2 planes. But that's 7 damage to face, plus the 2 damage destruction on the Hayabusa. Oh, the Blade of the Samurai takes us out. Okay, we're in rough here. In very rough. And he gets card draw. Okay. Man, I think we have to draw. I hate to waste 3 credits drawing right now because we are way behind on the board. Okay, well, we could have... Interesting, okay. That was an option. We could have also attacked with the Hurricane and then healed it. Like, we could have healed it with the 11th Infantry. We'll see what he does here. I mean, he's got to kill the artillery. So that at least puts pressure on him to at least destroy artillery instead of hitting face. Problem with the 0 is the ambush, right? We don't have anything that can get through the ambush except the artillery. So if 1 artillery lives and we have the Hurricane still, we could at least kill the 0 because the artillery will remove the ambush and then we can finish it off. Lots of thinking going on. All right, puts down the Osaka. Still has 4 credits. Trades the infantry. Still has 4 credits because of 0 op cost. Amphibious assault kills the artillery. This is not looking good. Yeah, we got a guard now, so at least we can protect our HQ. So that helps. So as long as he doesn't have an easy way to deal with that, we could be buying some time here to get more card draw maybe. Good to move up into the front line because we do not want him putting that Osaka on the front line. Another air superiority. Oh, right. He has all the answers. I mean, the only saving here is that we have that Churchill down and he only has 3 cards in his hand. If he finds a more draw, that's going to hurt. Too bad he doesn't play any tanks because for the king value would be nice. All right. So the armor protected our Churchill down to 1 health. So we could heal the Churchill with our 11th, which is very, very good for us. We got the Mitchell. Mitchell's a nice card. We really want the Mitchell to hit the 0. Crazy RNG if it hits the 0. Wow. I didn't remember that. That's crazy that that just happened. Okay. So that was a game saver right there. I mean, even if it didn't hit the 0, realistically, the bomber was protected by the guard, which was fully healed. He couldn't have killed it all, and the bomber could have killed the 0 next turn anyway. So I think realistically we would have been okay. Great RNG, though, to hit the 0 with that Mitchell. So he's getting a lot of meat down on the board now. Having a bomber is super nice because we could start to mow down some of these guys, which is definitely what we need to do. So we can... such a tough call here. We have USAC, so we can buff the 3-3 to kill the Osaka in the front line. Then we could use the Mitchell to hit something in the back, or we just kill with the Mitchell right there and move up. So we go for that. Now if we put some artillery down, that helps mow things down. The only risk is that Akita up there. The Akita potentially, the randomness of the Akita will probably hit the artillery. Yeah, so the USAX doesn't really give us any value yet. Alright, so USAX on the Humber is actually pretty good. Rising Sun is his last card. Oh, just kills our Churchill straight up with the amphibious assault. Wow. And a Type 93 just to... Why not, right? Alright, what do we do? We confer the king, the Type 93. I mean, we need to kill things with the Mitchell. We got to try to protect the Mitchell, but I don't think we're going to be able to. Get rid of the buff attack. That helps. So random damage that the Akita is going to do is going to be frustrating. Alright, get the Lancashire boys down. And there's no value in buffing it because you can't cover it anyway. And if the Akita random damage hits the Lancashire guys, that'll be dead anyway. Oh my god, another 0. What is going on? He's top decking. At least the Mitchell, no longer. The Mitchell's dead. Never mind. Wow. What pulls us out of this? He's got 3, 6, 10, 12 damage. And we draw a cup of tea. Wow. Alright, well this lets us kill the 3-6. And then we could heal. And give us more defense. So now he's got the 0, 4 plus 3, 7. He's got 9 damage. And then if the Akita hits HQ, that's 11 damage. And what did he just top deck? More miracles? An artillery. Alright, it's only a 1 attack, but it's still an artillery. And he's just going all face. Down to 9 health. Ooh, wow. That is a crazy top deck. So we kill the front line. And now we drop the B-17. And this time we don't get the 0. We get the artillery, which is a bit better because attacking that artillery pins our plane down. So that way we avoid the pin. That's a misplay right there. The 0 should have attacked the bomber. Because if he would have attacked the bomber would not have covered the ambush. And the fighters protecting from the bomber attacking anything else on that line, right? The fighters block the whole line from bombers. So what he really should have done there, and I think that's going to cost him the game right now, is that he should have attacked the B-17 instead of going face. Wow, so that misplay is really what saved us. Because he would have had 2 turns, he would have killed the B-17, and we had nothing else. I mean, we have the guard, I guess, that eventually came. I don't know. Hard to say if that really turned the game completely, but misplay nonetheless, because you don't know how it's going to go. Yeah, because now he's got outflank. He would have still had a 0 on the board. Yep, misplay. And now the tides are turned. Yeah, and this was the longest one. It took me about 4 hours, 3.5, 4 hours to get all the nations to the 7th progression, including the tutorial. And we're 45 minutes into these games right now, and this is just Britain. All right, so looks like we're going to win after all. Game's never over. All it takes is your opponent to make 1 mistake. Amphibious kills the artillery, but we got lethal. And it's game over. That was a good game.
I'm always happy to leave you.
Enemy surrendered. Alright, good game. And we get level 7. Progression level 7. Level up and unlock the Kitty Hawk. Awesome elite card for free. There you have it, guys. Your improved British starter deck. Good luck.